Welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into a real game changer for your UI, the highly customizable and surprisingly beginner-friendly B4XDaisyRange slider component. Look, if you develop apps and you've ever felt totally boxed in by the clunky default controls provided by the native operating system, this module is an absolute breath of fresh air. Let's dive in and see how you can completely transform user interaction in your layups.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll meet the B4XDaisyRange slider, check out how it handles perfect sizing for every screen, dive into its vibrant variants and custom colors, explore advanced UI behaviors, and finally wrap up with the beginner-friendly B4X code.
All right, let's kick things off with part 1, meeting the B4XDaisyRange slider. Right out of the gate, we are literally moving light years beyond the limitations of standard native OS sliders. You've got this beautiful, clean, flat design right at the base. It handles step increments flawlessly, cleanly snapping right to specific values. And the sheer variety, from perfectly scaled size adjustments to rich, solid color variants, it's incredible. It instantly modernizes the entire look and feel of the interface.
So what actually is this thing? Well, B4XDaisyRange Daisy is a modern, theme-aware slider UI component built specifically for B4X. But here's the real magic. It gives you programmatic layout capabilities paired with Tailwind styling parity. If you've ever messed around with a wildly popular Tailwind CSS framework over in the web development world, you're going to feel right at home here. Those exact same design philosophies and naming conventions, they apply directly to your B4X application. You absolutely do not have to reinvent the wheel when designing your layouts.
Moving on to part 2, perfect sizing for every screen.
You know, getting sliders to look right on a tiny smartphone versus a massive tablet used to require a ton of manual math. Well, not anymore. Instead of guessing pixel dimensions, you literally just use simple Tailwind size tokens directly in your designer properties. We're talking XS for extra small all the way up to XL for extra large. Under the hood, the module perfectly translates these tokens into responsive, device-independent pixel values, or DIP, ranging from 16 DIP up to 32 DIP for the thumb size. The medium size sits right at 24 DIP as your standard default. It takes all the guesswork out of the equation. And it totally doesn't stop at static designer properties. If you're hand-coding your layouts, or maybe you need to instantly respond to something like a quick device rotation, methods like set width and set height are right there waiting for you. When you call these methods, the component intelligently recalculates the track width and form position completely on the fly. The slider always feels perfectly proportioned to the new boundaries, so your design never breaks.
Let's step up the visual excitement in part 3, vibrant variants and custom colors.
When we talk about out-of-the-box styling options, the semantic variants are just stunning. We've got a striking primary purple, an accent blue, a bright success green, warning yellow, and an undeniable error red. Plus, there's a really clear muted disabled state that instantly communicates to the user, hey, interaction is locked here. And if you want to go rogue, you can easily set up custom configurations, like a deep blue thumb writing on a vibrant orange track. This whole system builds into a really consistent design language. By simply tweaking the variant property to match these keywords, you instantly map colors to their specific UI roles. Primary handles your main app branding. Success inherently communicates positive feedback or task completion. Warning handles cautions, and errors screams critical issues. Using these semantic properties ensures your app has a consistent design logic that users just intuitively get, all without you having to constantly Google hex codes. But hey, if those standard Tailwind variants don't quite match your company's branding, you are definitely not locked in. You get absolute granular control over everything. You can manually define the Trek color, which is the background rail, the progress color, which is that dynamic fill line, and the thumb color, the actual knob you drag. You can mix and match these for literally any design requirement. If your client demands neon orange and lime green, well, you can absolutely do that.
Okay, part 4, advanced UI behaviors. Because beyond basic aesthetics, a good component has to actually function under different requirements. Notice the distinct behavior choices built natively into the module. First up, the show fill property. If you set this to false, it hides the progress fill entirely. You are left with just the base track and the thumb knob for this ultra-minimalist, clean look. Contrast that with the RTL, or right-to-left property. If you're building an app localized for Arabic or Hebrew, setting RTL to true automatically reverses the entire progress direction, so it fills natively from right to left. That is an absolute lifesaver for global app development. You can also completely dial in how users interact with the underlying data. The step value property lets you enforce rigid increments, like forcing the slider to jump by steps of exactly 25, instead of allowing a continuous smooth drag. That's perfect for selecting set quantities. The enabled property easily toggles whether the user can interact with the component at all. And naturally, min value and max value let you set the exact mathematical boundaries of your slider's range.
Finally, let's pull back the curtain on Part 5, beginner-friendly B4X code.
Despite all this visual horsepower, getting this up and running is honestly genuinely beginner-friendly. It requires just 3 super straightforward steps in your IDE. First, you drop the B4XDaisyRange custom view into your layout via the visual designer. Second, you initialize it in your code, providing a callback and an event name. And third, you either let the designer properties do all the heavy lifting, or you adjust things dynamically in your code. The whole shebang is incredibly straightforward.
And tracking what the user actually does? Brilliantly simple. Natively hooking right into the standard B4X event structure, the component fires a clear changed event, instantly handing you the exact integer value every single time the user slides the thumb. It's clean, simple, and gives you exactly the data you need to effortlessly update your app's logic in real time.
Honestly, the absolute best part for rapid development is that because this component is structured entirely around native B4X designer properties, you can configure almost everything purely visually. We're talking all 13 settings, from variant and size down to the RTL toggle and min/max values, exposed right there in the designer window. You can perfectly craft your UI state before writing a single line of logic.
All right, bringing it all together for our conclusion.
We've gone from basic native sliders to a fully theme-aware, responsive, and customizable powerhouse. With such an accessible mix of visual power and beginner-friendly code, the possibilities are quite literally in your hands. You don't have to compromise on the look and feel of your app's controls anymore. So the final question I leave you with is this. Now that you have the Tailwind-inspired B4XDaisyRange at your fingertips, how are you going to use it to elevate the interface of your next project? Thanks for hanging out with me on today's explainer, and happy coding!